Legends, welcome back to our first edition of the Ruck Report. Now, I'm your host, Joey. As you know very well, what I'm going to do is we are going to go through and review the games from the week, from round one, starting Thursday night. Roosters v Broncos. Now, as a Roosters fan, quite a sad game, but if you're a Broncos fan, fantastic performance here. Of course, Broncos getting the win 50-14. I really liked what I saw from the Broncos. They were fast, tough, they played hard. Very, very good to see. The Roosters, on the other hand, looked very clunky. There were a couple of shining lights. I thought Rob Toya was very, very good. A couple of try assists there to Dom Young, especially that first one where he made the break and Dom Young scored the try. Roosters looked red hot to start, but again, just faded towards the back end. The Broncos were all over them. Tedesco, I think, is in for a long year. He could have grey hair by the end of the season. Puts his ass on the line every game, but just cannot do it all. Sandon Smith and Chad Townsend, a lot was made of them in the off-season at their first time together in a professional game, and Chad Townsend just looked a pace under, unfortunately. I really like Chaddy Townsend. He brings a lot of experience, but he just looked too slow for me. For Sandon, I think he needs to create some different opportunities. He might need to have a look at how Sam Walker played when he was there before. Of course, cannot compare him to him. They're not the same player, but it was a terrible showing. The stadium as well was just terrible with that drainage. I don't know how a stadium like Allianz, the drainage is just so bad. It was absolutely torn apart in that game. But the Broncos, Reynolds and Hunt looked like they had so much time. I thought Reece Walsh was outstanding in that game. And Jack Jugewski as well, I really liked on the edge, and I thought Chibasaki was good coming back into an NRL side. So, look, great things for Broncos fans. It's going to be a big season for the Roosters. Now, jumping into some Friday night games, the first game we had, the Knights beat the Tigers 10-8. Now, all the talk was in the off-season about the Tigers' recruitment. Of course, Terrell May, Jerome Luai, Gerald Skelton, Sunia Taruva, Royce Hunt, Jack Bird, just to name a few there. The Tigers started really well, 8-0 up. I thought, okay, this is a different look Tigers this year. We know what we've seen in the past, but this time it's going to be different. Unfortunately, it wasn't. They gave the game away. Newcastle came back in the second half, scored 10 unanswered points, and look, it was just a case of how did the Tigers let this slip again? Is it a player thing? Is it a coaching thing? Is it a culture? I really like the Tigers. I've actually got them making my top 8 just this year, but we need to see some more from them. We need to see some grit, some determination, and just not dropping the ball every 5 minutes. And that second half, I think the biggest thing we saw coming out of this game was the little scuffle between Royce Hunt and Matt Croker. Now, not much in it at all, of course. Knights getting the penalty from it, and then Matt Croker runs the ball. Royce Hunt hits him, and he drops it. So, look, you make what you make of that, and I thought there was nothing, and it was pretty good there. Moving into our second Friday night game, the Rabbitohs against the Dolphins. Now, the Bunnies getting it done 16-14. I thought the Bunnies were very impressive. The Wayne Bennett Cup in this one, all the talk was obviously the stadium being moved due to the cyclone in Queensland there, so the Dolphins did have to come to Sydney, and it was played at CommBank Stadium. A lot of people saying unfair for the Dolphins as they're based in Queensland, but Wayne Bennett came out during the week and said that the Rabbitohs actually take a game up there later in the season, a home game, so it actually evens out. But 5 or 6 players were out of this Dolphins team, giving the Rabbitohs the advantage, and they absolutely took it in this one. Really liked what I saw from Lockie Hubner coming in, sharing minutes with Tallis Duncan there. Also really liked to see Cody Walker back. He was really good. I thought he was very, very strong at 5'8". And Jamie Humphries, the man we've all been waiting for, especially if he plays Supercoach and Fantasy. Great to see him with that 7 jersey. I don't know if Lewis Dodd gets this jersey back. I thought Humphries was very, very good. I really like the kid, and I think he's going to make this jersey his own. We spoke a bit about that in our team preview for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, but let's talk a bit about the Dolphins now. I thought the Dolphins were good without being great. Tom Gilbert, though, 59 tackles, fantastic man, Tom Gilbert, named as captain for the Dolphins for 2025, and he is in for a very, very big year. So if you don't have Tom Gilbert in your Supercoach or fantasy, get him in because I think he is in for a fantastic season. Let's jump into some Super Saturday now. Of course, two games. Of course, the Bulldogs play the Dragons first up. Doggies getting it done 28-20. Now, this was another game that you just love to see. The atmosphere was wild in this one. We know Doggies fans and Dragons fans do have a bit of a rivalry, so it was really good to see there up in Cogra. Look, for the Dogs, I've got them in my top four this year. I think they finished fourth. I really like what I've seen from them. I've got them just scraping into that top four spot. The Dragons, all the talk in the offseason was their recruitment, of course, with Clint Gufferson, Valentine Holmes, Damien Cook, Lachlan Ilias, and Emre Gulen. Now, make of those signings what you will. I was really impressed with Val Holmes. I thought he played really well. I thought Guffo led from the front as much as he could. And Damien Cook was the man for me that was a bit lackluster. When Jacob Whittle came on, he seemed to really turn the tide for the Dragons. Scored a fantastic meat pie as well, about 40 metres out. Fantastic break there. I would like to see Little get some more minutes and Cook possibly back to a 14 or even a 13 role there. But for the Doggies, they were good. Matt Burton was good. Stephen Crichton was good. I thought Jake Preston on the edge was really good. But Connor Tracy, the man at the back, he was absolutely electrifying for me. But Satili Tupanua, former Rooster, sad to see him go, came on, scored 2 tries. He was fantastic and absolutely on fire. But if we jump into our second Saturday game, it was the Seagulls against the Cowboys. Now, if you're a Cowboys fan, you might want to jump off from this stream right now because they were absolutely put to the sword by the Seagulls, 42-12. Now, Manly started fantastic. I think they scored about 20 points in 15 minutes, but they were looking so good. Everything was going through Tommy Turbo. Look, he didn't get a try himself, but he had a couple of try assists. Daly Cherry Evans winding back the clock in another fantastic performance. His kicking game was great. Of course, got another intercept. We see him get an intercept almost every game now, and a couple of meat pies as well for Cherry Evans. So he was fantastic. I thought Saab and Garrick were really good. The whole backline for the Seagulls I thought were great. But if we head over to the Cowboys now, what's been made of Tom Duffy coming into this team? Everyone's been very excited to see him and what he can provide for the Cowboys. Unfortunately, he didn't provide much in this game. Now, I'm giving him another week to see how he goes because I think the Seagulls would have blown anyone off the park in this game. They just started so fast. But it'll be interesting to see where Tom Duffy goes from here. Of course, if you are tuning in, please do comment. I love to see your comments as well. But is it Tom Duffy next week, or do we think Jake Clifford will get back into this spot that we've seen him do time and time again? And we know that he can. He can control that team if he needs to. Of course, Dearden can always move to 7 as well, depending how they want to play it. But the Cowboys just looked very lackluster. Of course, missing Val Holmes, they're missing Cole Felt, they're missing Chad Townsend, and Jackson Purdue and, of course, Tom Duffy are the 2 new men in that team. And I don't know if it was a case of new players not knowing the squad, not knowing the combinations, but they just looked lost out there. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. And now jumping into our final game of the round, the Storm against the Eels. The Storm getting it done 56-18. Absolutely massive for Melbourne Storm, and I think this is what we expected this year. A lot of people have Storm finishing first, getting that minor premiership, and possibly going on to win another grand final. This is the first time I heard that the Spine has actually played together. Pappenhausen, Munster, Hughes, and Grant. Fantastic to see 3 out of 4 of those players scoring tries. Just Munster not getting one. For the multi, which was a shame. I did have a multi set for 18 grand in this one, which I almost nailed off $10 off a bonus bet, but just needed Zach Lomax to score. Speaking of Zach Lomax, I thought in his first game, it was look, he was okay without being great. I think he's got to ease into these combinations and into this Eels team. It is completely new for him coming from the Dragons, but for me, I think the biggest thing for the Eels is having no Mitch Moses, especially for 5-6 weeks. That's going to absolutely kill them. As much as Ronald Volkman's a great young player, he's no Mitch Moses. His kicking game is not the same as Moses, who can get you a 40-20, he can get you on the front foot and score your team a try. I was impressed with the Eels in the last 15 minutes or so, I thought they tried to put some points on the board, but just wasn't enough. But Melbourne Storm absolutely clinical in this game, and Bellamy just kept that record alive. I think it's 23 or 24 round ones now over the years that he has won consecutively, has never lost round one. So incredible stat there. And this is the first time in the history of the New South Wales Rugby League that we have actually seen 250-plus scores in round one. So incredible stuff. Melbourne looking the goods early, which you never want to see, but they are. So, of course, Melbourne and Broncos on first and second with those 50-point buffers, and they look good early. What were your takeaways from the weekend? Put your comments in, please. Let's have a bit of a chat. Anything interesting, Supercoach or fantasy-wise? A nice question here from Daniel Straubs. He said, you reckon Eels will keep up like this until Moses comes back? Mate, it's hard to say. I really do. I think Jason Ryles is a fantastic coach, and I like the players that he's brought into the team, but I just don't know. I just don't know if I just don't know if Volkman has the strike power, the ability that Moses possesses to get this team where they need to go. Look, much has been made of Dylan Brown and his contract situation at the moment, but he really needs to step up. He really needs to take over this leadership role in this Eels team if they're going to go any further. I do have them in my top 8 currently, and that's based off Jason Ryles. I think he can get them there, but it'll be really interesting to see. Any other comments? We'll talk a bit about Supercoach and fantasy real quick. I thought Robert Toyer was great, got me a nice 60, 70 odd in fantasy. Tommy Gilbert was fantastic. Shibasaki getting me a nice 90 if you play Supercoach. So he was wonderful as well. Of course, you had your Vegas boys, Corey Horsburgh, Isaiah Yeo, Nathan Cleary were all really, really good. I thought they did outstanding in Vegas. And it was so good to see Vegas just thriving for the second year in a row. Do we think it's viable over a 5-year period, or do you think maybe next year it starts to die off a bit? Give me your thoughts in the comments. I think it could be viable. It's just going to depend on those teams. I mean, the likes of Melbourne Storm have still not played in Vegas, which surprises me for such a big team and for the whole of Victoria basically supporting that squad. I could see them going really well in Vegas. Another great question here. Where do you have the Raiders in your ladder and why? Look, originally before the season, and you can check our reviews out on YouTube as well. Head over to the Ruck Infringement Podcast YouTube page. All our team previews are there. And I believe I have the Raiders just missing the 8. And the reason I did was, this was pre-Vegas, mind you, I just felt the lack of experience now with Whitehead gone. I mean, they showed that last year. I had the Raiders for the spoon in 2024, and I was happily had egg on my face when Whiten left, and I think they lost Croker as well, and everyone said, oh, yeah, Raiders aren't going to do well, and I was in the same boat. I said, they're not going to do very well. I've got them coming last, and I thought Ethan Strange, KO Weeks were outstanding in 24. They looked electric in that game against the Warriors, and now I'm questioning everything that I said at the beginning of the year. Can the Raiders make the 8? Can Ricky Stewart do what he does best and get this team up? Look, it's going to be interesting. I think the biggest thing for me with the Raiders is how many more years does Ricky have to not win a premiership? And if he doesn't win one, do we see him getting sacked sooner rather than later? What are your thoughts, guys? Let me know in the comments. But look, I think I had Raiders about 12th or 13th. I do not remember, but go and check out our team preview. The Warriors are the ones for me that I'm very worried about. I've always had a soft spot for the Wars. Really loved them for the years, but I've really got them getting the spoon this year. I don't know. I don't want to say it, but it's really hard. It's really hard with the Wars. I just think they don't have that strike power anymore. I think Sean Johnson's such a massive loss for them. Tohu Harris, such a workhorse, and now he's gone as well. Of course, Mitch Barnett, he can't do it all. And James Fisher-Harris, as much as he's a fantastic front rower, how much does a front rower change a game? You need your halves firing. You need the whole team firing. Luke Metcalf, if you had him in Supercoach or Fantasy, was an absolute letdown in this game. I think definitely hold 1 week just to see how they go next week, the Wars. They will be at home. But it's going to be really interesting. Of course, if you have any comments on the Warriors, let me know. Any comments on round 1, let me know as well. Or Vegas, what you liked, what you didn't like. But if you don't, we will be recording not this week until Saturday. So we do have our 100th episode coming up. It's pretty exciting. There is a video on our Instagram and social media that you can check out. Now, if you want to come and join us, we'll be live in person at St. Mary's Rugby League Club, 7:30 Saturday, 15th of March. So head down there, meet all the boys, of course. Me, the producer, will be there, producer Reese, and Harry as well, a special guest coming, and there will be a massive giveaway. So you'll have to tune into the episode and find the secret code word to join the giveaway. It's going to be absolutely outstanding. Another question here. Daniel Straub said, I reckon Ricky won't get sacked, but I think he will stand down respectively. Don't think the Raiders will sniff first or last, so I don't think he will get sacked. Instead, he will stand down. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if he would stand down from a head coach role. I think I don't know if Ricky knows anything else to do. So I think he may stay in the role. Interesting that you say stand down. Who do you think would take over? Would it be an assistant coach? Would they look externally? Would they look internally in the club? What are your thoughts there? But yeah, as I said, our 100th episode coming up, so make sure you check that out. Come and join us live. It will be live streamed as well. Look, there's going to be plenty of banter. There's going to be mediocre betting advice, lots of fun. And of course, as I said before, special guests and a massive giveaway. And you get to see me, which is the biggest thing, right? The best incentive of all. But look, that's it for the Ruck Report. This will happen every Sunday night, so make sure you tune in. Thank you for all those that were a part of it. Don't forget to head over to our social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Check us out. Give us a like and follow. Of course, YouTube and Spotify as well. And if you are watching, thank you again. We really appreciate you. Head over to our email. We always love to get contacted by people as well. ruckinfringementpod@gmail.com. Send us an email. Anything you want about footy, about life, and we'll try and answer your questions. And you'll get a shout out on the podcast in the next episode as well. And don't forget to check out our sponsors, of course, Jersey Kings, Stay Fancy Eyewear, Koala Mowers, Gibson's Country Style Jerky, TBC Live, League Lids, and Sports Heads AU. Until next time, I'm Joey. Wherever you are, be good.